Hey guys, welcome back. We got some quick work on the Mustang here today. As you see here, I got some new lower control arms. So these are adjustable. Basically, what I needed was some more adjustability in my suspension. Just launching at the drag strip, it's just not great. And also, since I did the 6R80 swap in it, this is my supercharged 6R80 swapped '08 Mustang GT. The drive shaft I put in was a Drive Shaft Shop aluminum one-space drive shaft. And with those, if you've modified your suspension anyway, like lowered your car, and I've talked about this on the channel before, if you lower your suspension, there's geometry in the suspension design from the factory, and it's going to be off. So these will help correct some of that. Basically, my drive shaft is being overextended on deceleration. So I did get a spacer to kind of fix that a little bit, but it's honestly kind of janky how I did it, and I just don't want to rely on a spacer. I'd rather just fix the geometry of the suspension. I want to give a huge shout out to UMI. They actually are, helping us out here. I purchased these ones, but I talked with them, and they're actually going to be sending me some new lower control arm relocation brackets, because the one I have on there it's a little suspect. They also are going to be sending me an adjustable upper control arm and upper control arm bracket. So really awesome of them to do it. I'm glad that they're helping out with this project, hoping that we can work on some other projects with them, particularly the Camaro right over here. They actually have a lot of more F-body products than they do Mustang. They do have a lot of Mustang parts though, so keep an eye out for that. Check the link in the description, and yeah, we're just gonna get into this right now. So I already have the Mustang up on jack stands here. I do have chocks in the front, and then I got my 6-ton jacks in the back. We're gonna go ahead and measure the CV spacing right here. This is the Drive Shaft Shop's one-piece aluminum drive shaft. It's 3.5 inches. Might be kind of hard to see, but you can actually see the spacer up front. But what we're concerned about is the CV depth. So the distance from here to here is actually crucial to measure. So if I go ahead and get this up here, you can actually see it's just at about 3 1/4 inches. And really you want this to be within 3 1/4 and 3 3/4. So I'm like right at the limit, even with that spacer. So what we're going to be doing is replacing these lower control arms I have. These are boxed ones. They did okay for stock suspension, but my car's been lowered, so it needs the newer, adjustable stuff. So in essence, what we'll do is that's a 1/2 inch spacer up there, and then we're also going to take out an additional, probably like 1/4 inch, just to put it at right in the middle of the spec for this side. So going to be short knees by 3/4 of an inch, and that should put us pretty much in spec. We also have the upper control arm up here. You can see it's also a tubular one, just non-adjustable. So we'll be replacing that at a later date. I don't got the parts yet. But yeah, that's basically the gist of it. It's just 2 bolts, one right here and one up there. Sometimes it's a bit hard to line up the bolt holes on here. I might even extend it just to get it bolted in and then shorten it while it's on the car, because those UMI lower control arms are on-car adjustable, which helps a lot. I have an on-car adjustable pan hard bar to help the centering of the differential. So always buy on-car adjustable parts. UMI, I think they only have on-car adjustable. I could be wrong, but for the Mustang, I would recommend on-car adjustable, because you don't want to be taking your suspension parts off every time you need to adjust this, some size. So I'm going to go ahead and start by removing this guy. I'm probably going to remove the wheel just for access, cut these zip ties holding the e-brake on, and unbolt it. Alright guys, so the weight of the suspension is on the jacks right now. So if I disconnect this, it really shouldn't affect the height of it. Worst case scenario, I'll lower it and then put the jacks on the frame just to lower it. But since the shocks and the springs are fully compressed, it's lifted up, it shouldn't drop. I'm going to go ahead and get a breaker bar on this bolt here, as well as that bolt here with a wrench on the other end, and we can get this one out. As far as the relocation brackets, I was told by the alignment shop, driver's side had a little bit of thrust forward. So if you're imagining the wheel here, it is pushed a bit forward. That causes the car to want to basically drive to the right a little bit. They're able to correct some of it, but definitely once I have these adjustable control arms on, they can take care of that, as well as once I replace these, because these were used lower control arm relocation brackets, and I'll be getting some new ones from UMI that I'll be using, and that should fix that problem. Alright guys, got both bolts out. I'm gonna go ahead, cut these ancient zip ties. They're very brittle. Yep. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and finagle this out of here. Probably just need to drop this side first, but yep, that's basically it. This side's effectively out. This side is just kind of holding on. It's a bit greasy, and just put it down, pull it out from under the, or over the e-brake here. Just got a rubber mallet and pounding down like that, and there it is. Pretty old and torn up a little bit. Did I hit that Zerx fitting on something? I kind of want to feel how much like plays in here, like get a bolt or something in and wiggle it. It's still pretty stiff. Put these on like, I don't know how many years ago, like 3 or something. So yep, it's actually pretty simple to get out. I think I've been doing it wrong this entire time, where I let the suspension hang and had the jack under it just so it didn't shift, but it always shifts. So something like this seems to be just fine, because I didn't see any movement at all and the holes lined up. All right guys, out with the old, in with the new, as they say it. You can tell which way it goes, because this was the passenger side, and you can see the boxed end is a little bit offset. This side's centered, that's fine. This one's a little bit more offset, but you just want the fittings to face downwards, and then you just want it to face that way. These control arms have roto joints as well as polyurethane mounts. That way, where it mounts to the body, you have polyurethane just kind of dampen things, and where it connects to the axle, you have a really stiff bushing. So that's how you can tell where it goes. Just Zerx fitting needs to face down. The side that's going to attach to the axle is a roto joint. This side is going to be polyurethane. If you have like rose ends, it's, I mean, just full race car basically. And then you have dual polyurethane, you just have to match it up like this. Zerx fittings down, and then just mirror where that goes. Right now I'm going to line it up with this and then measure how much I need to take out. Like I said, I want to take out 3/4 of an inch, because we have the inch spacer, and then still like on the very top end of out of spec at 3 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to take out 1/4 of an inch, so that'd be, the spacing would be 3.5 inches, right in the middle of spec. So going to measure these, and they actually kind of look pretty close already, but measure them, make this the right length it needs to be, or get it the same length so it just slides in really easily, and then adjust the actual length. Just measure how much I need to take out of this either thread side, and then just take it from there. Also guys, I want to emphasize this job's super easy. Like I mean with recording and stuff adds a little bit of time, but it was 2 bolts and just setting up the car. Now you can just put it in. If you're not doing adjustable control arms and it's like stock ride height, I mean, you could be done in like an hour, maybe 30 minutes, or not, probably not 30 minutes, but like an hour for sure. But I'm gonna mess with the, you know, spacing of it, so that adds a little bit, but really, really easy job. I also want to take this time to remind you guys to leave a like below. It helps get the video out. It'll help this video do well, so UMI will be more inclined to help us out in the future with our projects. We really like working with them, and you know, we'd love to have them help us out with some of our other projects. So yeah, definitely leave a comment, leave a like. All right guys, so I measured these. The bushing size and the overall length aren't identical, but I know what will stay the same is where the bolt holes are. So the actual outside length of this was like 20.5 inches. The inside was just like where the bolt hole goes. From bolt hole corner to corner was about 18 inches. So I got them approximately where they're gonna go. I got them lined up with bolts all the way through, so I know that that is also accurate. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to measure the inside of this which comes out to about 2.5 inches. So from there, I'm going to take out, I'm put it on the car, and then I'm going to take out 3/4 of an inch. So that will bring us down to about 1.75 inches. So about right there. That's how much distance I need to take out. And it's crazy how it seems so small, but that amount will mess up my drive shaft spacing. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on and then change the distance. Basically, I'll just spin the center with a inch end wrench, and then these are 1 1/8, I believe. Have the wrenches over here, yeah, 1 1/8, and then torque them down. All right, guys, they provide some lithium grease that you just put on the polyurethane side. I'm going to go ahead and get this in position. I'm not going to be able to hold the camera for that, and just get bolts through, and then we can work on shortening it. All right, guys, I slid it up over the e-brake cable and then got this in and just got one bolt, just threaded through. Now I kind of got this, it's a really tight fit. I got this kind of in place here. Now I'm just going to tap this end with the rubber mallet to secure it upwards. Hopefully this works. Yep. And gonna put it on the second bolt hole on here like I had it previously. I believe with these lower control arms, what they recommend is if you're 1 inch lower, do the first hole. If you're like 1 inch to 2 inches lowered, use second hole. If you're more than 2 inches, use the bottom hole. Seems to me that the lower you go, just the better traction is going to be. I'm not an expert on, you know, chassis stuff, but I'm just going to put it on the second hole. It seems to be doing well, and beauty of this is, you know, it's adjustable. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it on the second bolt, and then going to go work on the other side. All right, guys, got that tapped into place. I did have to extend it just a little bit more to get it, but we do know the length that this will need to be. And worst case scenario, if we get this, you know, torqued down and then on the ground, I guess once we get both control arms on and then set the spacing here, we can check the CV axle, check the CV joint spacing to see if it's in spec, and then just adjust from there. It's just about adjusting it. So we could do our best calculating or, you know, trying to figure it out before put the parts on, but you're definitely just going to have to check afterwards as well, which, I mean, you'd do anyways. Just make sure it's in spec, and if it's not, you fix it. So I got this side done. I'm going to leave it loose while I do the other side. And then once both sides are done, I'm going to bring in the spacing of this, which will affect the spacing of the axle, and see where that goes. The only thing is the upper control arm is non-adjustable, so that might adjust the pinion angle, but like I said, UMI is hooking us up and sending us an adjustable upper control arm and bracket, so I'm gonna install those. But but I'll actually let an alignment shop fix that. I'll basically measure the distance. I mean, there's some, I'll do some calculations. I'll see there. I know there are diagrams online to show you how to check your pinion angle. Basically, the differential and then the transmission, they need to be at the same angle that the drive shaft is going to be at. And these Mustangs have pretty bad drive shaft angles from the factory. Lowering the engine and then raising the transmission actually helps correct that a little bit. So I do have lower engine mounts installed on there. Could even look into putting a spacer in, but once I have these control arms on and the adjustable top one, that will really help me figure out what needs to happen first. All right, guys, so I have now the other side in. You can see it right over there, UMI. I'm now going to, well, what I did is I took the weight off the axle, and I have them on jack stands up front here, so the suspension's lowered. I just don't want to bring this in while the axle's on jack stands because I might pull them off the jack stands. I don't want that, so I'm gonna tighten these up. And we measured the distance what we need compared to the stock. We need to go to 1 3/4 inches because we had 2.5 inches before. Now we just need to take out 3/4 of an inch, which brings us there. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the tedious process. Oh, my sockets are going everywhere. Tedious process of tightening this up. So this is reverse thread, I believe. Basically, if you look where the threads are, they're coming in this way. So to get them to come in how you want them to shorten them, you bring this side down, and then we're gonna do this until we are at 1 3/4 inches. All right, guys, I got this side to 1 3/4 inches there, pretty much right on the dot. So I can go ahead and put these in the lock position. pretty short. And now I'm going to do the other side. You can actually see how the axle is really far this way. It is more forward, so it's making me think I'm probably going to need to extend it just a little bit once I have the other side dialed in, and then get the spacer off of the drive shaft, because we need to remove that. Then I can really gauge the drive shaft CV spacing. All right, guys, I got the car back on, or the jacks under the suspension, so now it's loaded. I got this wheel on just to see the type of spacing between here and here, to see if it was like too close in any way, but seems to spin just fine. Doesn't come close anywhere on the inside, being a smidge more forward. I did measure the CV gap, and it was at actually 3 1/4 inches. If we remove the 1/2 inch spacer, it'll actually put us right here at 375. So I'm going to take that out and then see what spacing we're at and see how far in spec it is. If it's closer to 375, might bring it just a bit more farther, might leave it where it is just for the pinion angle, because the differential has upper control arm and the 2 lowers. So we've effectively brought it down a little bit like that. So the spacing up here might not be great. Don't want to take it any more than we need to. So I'm going to go ahead and get the drive shaft spacer off. Might have enough room under there to get to it. I did put in neutral and take e-brake off so we can spin the drive shaft to get to the bolts. Once we have that off, I'll have a better idea of, you know, how much we need to add or remove from it, but so far it looks good. All right, guys, got the drive shaft spacer out and I went ahead and measured the distance. It is now at 3.5 inches, so that's about, well, between 3 3/4 and 3.5 inches, so that's in spec. I got the suspension on its all loaded up, so now I'm going to go ahead and grease up the fittings, and we'll put the wheels on and go take on a test drive. All right, guys, got done torquing down the suspension under load, got the wheels torqued on and everything as well, got all the fittings greased up and everything. It's I didn't mention it, but 72 foot-pounds for the suspension parts, and then 2 to 3 pumps per fitting, so front and back on both sides. Right now I'm gonna go ahead and let the Mustang warm up, and then we'll go take on a test drive. And Amazon actually just dropped something off here for us. This is going to be for something pretty cool. Well, there it is, guys. We got some bracketry and stuff. They actually included a microfiber and gloves. That's really neat. But this is the True Cool 40K transmission cooler. So this isn't going on the Mustang. I have an 11 to 14 GT transmission cooler on this. This is an 08, so it's a, I mean, it's about this size. I think it's a little bit shorter, like maybe a couple rows, but it's really long as well. So this is actually going to go on Vince's Trans Am, the 408 stroker that we built a couple months back. So we rebuilt his 4L60. The cooling isn't super great, so I just bought him one of these really badass coolers. So this thing's used for like big trucks and hauling and stuff, so I don't anticipate any cooling issues with this guy. All right, guys, let's go. Don't mind the water that spilled on my pants. I have to keep a tarp on the engine because it rains and everything, and I have the track spec vent heat extractor. So I put a tarp over the engine so no water gets in the spark plug holes, so it spilled over me. Basically what I'm looking for is just like any new introduced vibrations or, you know, weird sounds. So far it's actually driving straight and everything like it should, because I mean both axles, or both sides of the axles should be you know, where they need to be. The alignment shop that I went to said that the driver's side control arm lower relocation bracket is like, I don't know, something's messed up with it, so it might be pushing the rear tire a bit forward, and I can actually correct it with the UMI control arms because they're adjustable. Oh, Jesus Christ. Karen about hit me. You see that? That Honda was stopping for her and she just like yeeted. Almost hit me. It's gonna be pretty bright right here, unfortunately. So cruising speed up to 40 feels totally fine. I'm not feeling any crazy vibrations or anything like that. Let's see if that helps a little bit. No crazy vibrations or anything like that. Feels pretty much the same as normal. I feel like maybe just on the lower speeds there's just a little bit more feel from the rear, but that's pretty much fine. Hate to say it, but the Mustang really needs to get a retune, guys. It might have Lido look look over it again, but like, why is it just so lean right here? Part throttle, let's go. This thing pulls just for part throttle. Oh my god. Let's get that sun out of your guys' eyes. Woo! Oh, baby, it's shifting hard. Woo! Oh, man. Dude, that felt so good. I don't know what it was about it, but it just felt so much more like... Maybe all it needed was the Italian tune-up. It was like all breaking up and stuff, and then I floored it, and now it's acting all good. Man, that was awesome. It was shifting really well too, guys. I've been trying to mess with the the US Shift Quick 6 controller to kind of dial in the shift points and stuff. And man, it went above 6,000, and I actually recently learned that out, or learned about that. When I was at the track, I was shifting at 6,000 automatically. Like, it was not upshifting at redline, where redline 6,500 set by Lido, so I set the shift point to 6,400. Man, that was awesome. I want to see what kind of boost it was making there. Right there, I hear some NVH, 1,500 RPM. You can definitely hear some NVH from the rear. But, I mean, I chose to get roto joints in polyurethane, so it's kind of a split between. I could have gone full polyurethane, but you know, it is what it is. This car is I'm trying to make it more competitive at the track, and I've seen some stuff with polyurethane getting busted, and this seemed like a really great compromise that UMI provides. But if you want no NVH, or at least a little bit more than, you know, stock, because you're replacing stock part with aftermarket stuff, they do make full polyurethane stuff. They also make full race car stuff if you don't care at all about NVH. Alright guys, the Mustang made it back perfectly fine. Thanks again so much, UMI. Looking forward to receiving the adjustable upper control arm and relocation brackets and the upper controller mount. Thank you again, UMI. If you guys are interested in checking out their products, they do tons of stuff. Lots of Chevy, lots of Ford stuff. The link will be down below. Definitely leave a like on this video, leave a comment, and we'll see you in the next video.